Hello and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion for the final part in our Embracing the Challenge series with Hermione Drummond Moray. If you have joined me in the previous 3 episodes, you will know that Hermione had been preparing for the ride of their lives amateur jockeys race at York Racecourse on Saturday the 15th of June in aid of Macmillan Cancer Support. In this episode, Hermione joins us along with 6 other guests to tell the story of her memorable day at one of the world's most famous racecourses. You will be hearing from 2 jockeys, a previous competitor in Ride of Their Lives, along with representatives from Macmillan and the racecourse, as well as Hermione's mum, to capture the excitement that Saturday the 15th of June brought to so many people. Settle back and enjoy a heartwarming hour of racing joy. Welcome back, Hermione, to the final part of Embracing the Challenge.
Thank you so much for having me again.
How are you? It's more embrace the challenge now than embracing.
I'm good. I've had a few weeks to recover. And yeah, all back to normality, back to life as usual.
It seems a long while ago now. It's over 2 months ago. How do you feel then? Fulfilled? Do you feel relieved? What?
I think a bit of both. Yeah, if I look back, it was definitely one of the most incredible things I've ever done, and but also slightly relieved to have in some ways my life back, and not having to be kind of training so hard. But yeah, just the most incredible experience. I'm so grateful to have been able to do it.
Well, I'm looking forward to this. We've got 6 guests in this show. We've got 2 jockeys that rode with you on the day. We've got Megan from Macmillan, Amy from the racecourse. We've got Sophia who rode in the race before, and we've got your mum. So
great lineup.
Great lineup, especially the last one, of course. Yeah, but let's go back in time to the day before the race. Did you sleep very well on the Friday night?
Yeah, I did. I'm a relatively good sleeper, but yeah, I wasn't. I was actually amazed. My nerves weren't kind of too hectic. So yeah, I was fairly kind of calm, put together, which was good.
I guess you were in York on the Friday night.
Yeah, I was. I was staying with some family nearby, so we had a bit of a kind of big family gathering, which was really special. And yeah, my dad had organised us all to go up there and stay with family back in December. So it was very special to all be together.
And were you up early on Saturday morning?
Yeah, relatively early. I think I was up at kind of 6:30, but not probably as early as what I would be if I was getting up to ride out. So I guess it was a bit of a lie-in.
You sound really calm about it. What time did you get to the race course?
I got to the race course at about 9:15. So we all had to be there around then, because we then went and walked the course all together again, and just kind of got all our kit together. I think my most kind of the most when kind of was sorting all my kit out and making sure it was the right weight, because I had to carry quite a bit of weight in the race itself. That was probably a little bit nerve-wracking because I had no idea what I was doing. But luckily we had lots of people helping us and setting us right. So that was really helpful.
Remind you, had you walked the course before, or was that the first time?
No, that was the second time. So we'd walked it a few weeks before, when we did all of our fitness tests. So it was really good to walk it again and kind of get another kind of look and glimpse in before we actually set off.
Because you were off at 12:30, because I got there about noon, and the sort of area around the parade ring there were so many people there.
Yeah, there were so many people there. I was so lucky to have so many friends and family up. I had a lot of friends, a lot of family come from Scotland, a lot of friends come from Scotland, family nearby, and then a lot of friends come up from London and Newmarket. So there was a really good turnout. It made it so incredible on the day. It just, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I spoke to your mum before the race, before you went into the parade ring. But before then, you'd had to put those. I've written this down. The purple and black. Well, they were black silks with purple and black arms, weren't they?
Yes, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It must have been exciting to put those on, and you really must have realised then you are going to ride in a proper race.
Yeah, no, they were. I was very lucky. I had one of my great friends, Pugs. She came and actually pretty much dressed me. So she's done a bit of this before. So I was, I had a personal dresser as well. So, but no, that was great. I was wearing James Ferguson's silks. I think it might have been his father's silks. So yeah, it was a very kind of surreal feeling, putting them all on and getting my breeches on and just making sure that everything was in the right place.
And then you came down to lots of photos and hugs with mum before you went into the parade ring.
Yeah, lots of that. And I think that's when maybe the nerves started to kick in a little bit. And, I had my sister and my niece and nephew. They flew over from Australia, especially for the day. So that was a very, very special thing to see them there and to see, my niece and nephew are kind of 8 and 10. They were so excited. So it was a very cool feeling.
When did they get in? Had they only been in a matter of days?
They literally arrived in 2 days before. So yeah, it was very special.
And then it's into the ring to meet a 6-year-old gelding called Currency Exchange.
Yeah, he was looking cool as a cucumber. He's an absolute pro. He took it in his stride. He was very unfazed. But so my nerves were put at ease when I saw how relaxed he was. I just thought, well, it's an excuse I'm being nervous.
Then it's off to the start. What did you really feel you were part of the race then when you're actually riding him down to the start?
Yeah, the start was interesting. I could certainly feel everyone's nerves get a little bit higher when going past the kind of the stands, just trying to kind of go in quietly so that he didn't spook at anything. And he was very strong going down to the start, so I was kind of up against the rails trying to hang on a little bit. But no, it was and then getting down to the start, it was I think at the start it was a little bit everyone's kind of nerves were on edge a little bit. But yeah, it was the start was slight carnage. I think everyone was everywhere, and I slightly kind of got pushed out. My Currency kind of kept stopping, and I think he was just looking around and he wouldn't move forward. So I ended up having someone lead me around. But yeah, it was
quiet down the start. Did many jockeys talking to each other, or
not really?
No.
No, not really. We were all kind of trying to focus on the flag starts, which is a lot harder than what I thought it would have been. I got pushed massively out. I think we were all in a kind of big group, in a big clump. So it's one thing I was told by Mike Hills and James Ferg and lots of various other people is not to miss the start. And I didn't get in amongst it probably enough. But yeah, as I think it was such a quick kind of, you don't really think you're watching and then suddenly you're off. So that was probably the most nerve-wracking bit. But once we were off, I managed to kind of push in because I was way far back at the beginning, and then managed to push in into kind of a good little spot midfield, which is then when we got into our pace.
You can only imagine what it must have been like all those years ago before we had any sort of barrier start stalls. You can see how many false starts they used to have years ago.
I know. Oh my God, I can absolutely see that. Because if you're not concentrating, you're It's it's a you gotta have your wits about you.
So he got into his stride. Then how did the race pan out
Yeah.
for him?
Yeah, I feel like I pushed him quite hard to get into that spot midfield because we were so far back. And really we should have been sitting if not more forward than kind of mid. But I worked quite hard to get in there, and then I came around the corner, and I think he was that I used a lot of that juice to get into that spot. So yeah, oh gosh, he was such a hero. He's such a little legend. But I do feel like I might have overcooked it at the beginning.
Did you get the sense of you were on the Knavesmire and there was all these people watching? Because
Oh yeah, I think coming up because we slightly split, and I went slightly to the right, and then some people went to the left, closest to the because when we were walking it, I remember thinking, well, them saying the right is apparently the better ground. So in my head, I was like, right, well, I'm going right, and I went with a group of people, but then a lot of people then went left, and you just, I mean, obviously, it was just no one really kind of knew what they were really doing, but coming up, I think up the straight, it was incredible. It was just, I mean, such an unbelievable once in a lifetime opportunity to ride at York Racecourse.
it made it all worth it, all those early mornings.
Yeah, 100%. It was just, very magical. And, I think even despite we didn't, it didn't end up, probably where I would have loved us to been at the finish, but it was just the most incredible feeling. And as soon as I finished, thought, oh God, I want to do that again. It was so fun.
I think it's about time we had our first guest. I spoke to Louis Pern. I think he's the youngest jockey in the race at 19 years of age, and he rode Hartswood, number 9, to win the race. And let's hear what he had to say about the ride of their lives race at York Racecourse. The ride of their lives race must have been a perfect day for you, Louis.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was such an incredible experience. And obviously, to come out on top was fantastic. But the most important thing for sure was the amount of money we raised was just unbelievable. So, it was a great day. Everyone had a lot of fun and we raised an incredible amount of money. So, yeah, brilliant.
Talk us through the race from the winner's angle.
So I was on a very good horse. He's an old legend, really. He knows what he's doing. So I sort of just knew that I had to just leave him to it, really. Lucy went off. She went quite quickly, so we were all sort of behind her, and she was way out in front. And then just sort of sat handily on the rail, and just let him do his thing. Really, he just slowly, I just kept him on the bridle coming around the bend. It's such a long straight at York, so never wanted to make him any moves too soon. But they sort of just slowly kept creeping forwards, and then as I hit the front, he sort of was still full of running, so it was made my job very easy, really.
Were you always confident?
He knew what he was doing.
Were you always confident of catching Lucy?
I think, I thought at one point when we were coming around the bend, she might be too far ahead to catch, because she was about 10 to 15 lengths clear, so she was a long way off. But no, I was fairly confident because he was going very well underneath me, so I was hopeful.
And then everyone wants to interview you after the race.
Yeah, it was chaotic, but it was good. Like you said earlier, the rain was the heavens opened and it was pouring with rain, but we managed to get some cover, and everyone was very keen to have a chat. It was good.
Must mention your horse again then, Hartswood. Had you been riding him for a while?
Yeah, Hartswood. So he was from Richard Fahey's. I'd been riding at Richard's since we found out we'd got in, from January, really. I found out, there was a few different horses that were potentials, and it sort of just worked that he would, where he'd ran and what the trip and everything, it just made sense for it to be him, really. And he was, so I'd been riding him more in the sort of few weeks up to the race, but I'd ridden all sorts over the like 6 months before, and we were just basically finding the best fit, and luckily it paid off.
All those early mornings were worth it then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and there's such a great team at Richard, so we've had a lot of fun, and I'm still going there now. So as much as I can, but yeah, it was great fun. It never felt like a chore at all, which is lovely. Feels nice to be able to do something you enjoy for sure.
Your background is eventing, so how different was it to eventing?
Yeah, definitely. It was different, but it was something like I'd always sort of thought about giving it a go. I've got a good friend, Jack Teal, that's point-to-point trainer around us, and yeah, so he does a lot of that. And I'd never been on a racehorse at all. So it was definitely a difference. We're used to lots of control, and well, obviously we go cross country, but it's definitely nowhere near as quick. Yeah, I started off at Jack's. I went to his for a bit, and went on the pointers, and they were slightly slower than the flat horses. So that got me going a bit, got my stirrups up, and then yeah, we were away.
What's next for you then?
I don't know what this. I maybe might have a go at pointing this winter. We'll have to see. But I definitely got some buzz from riding at York, so we'll have to. Yeah, I'll have a thing. Maybe go pointing this winter.
And a final message: you raised so much for charity.
Yeah, unbelievable amount of money. We did so well. I think between us, we're about 220,000 now. So unbelievable, really.
Such a worthy cause, Macmillan.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I think that's sort of why I wanted to do the race. Really, it's a charity that everyone can relate to for sure. Whether it's personally, family, friends, whatever. Cancer's so prominent, so everyone can relate to the cause, and it was fantastic to be able to raise such an amazing amount of money for them.
You've got the bug now, like Hermione. You're still riding out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's such a great way to start your day. I love it. And the team, like I said, they're fantastic. It's brilliant atmosphere, and I would definitely keep riding out for sure.
He made it sound so easy. He did. He rode an incredible race. He did so well, and it helps that he's obviously a very, very accomplished rider anyway, being an eventer. But yeah, Louis did an awesome job, and just the amount of money that he personally raised, I think, was £38,000 or something absolutely amazing. So yeah, well done to Louis. He really did. He ran a good one.
We've got another jockey on Embracing the Challenge Part 4. I've got Charlotte Russell, who was riding, and I've got to say this correctly because it's difficult to remember how to say this, but up, it's the boss. And Charlotte is the general manager of Go Racing in Yorkshire. And to begin with, I asked her how much of a thrill it was to ride in the Ride of Their Lives race. And this is what she had to say.
Stephen, the whole experience, the last 6 months has been the best thing I've ever done, and to culminate with riding at York Racecourse on the Knavesmire, being treated like a proper jockey, using all the facilities. It's just, it's giving me goosebumps again now thinking about it.
You were saying off air, even before the race was incredible.
Yes, just the whole build up. We were looked after so well by Macmillan and by the team at York. When we came out of the weighing room to walk down to the parade ring, I mean, I go racing at York a lot, and I've never seen the amount of people around the weighing room who all wanted to be there to wish good luck to their friend that was riding in the race. There were so many people as you came out to walk down the steps, and just that feeling of support from everyone that was there was just the best thing you could have had as you're walking into the parade ring to get on your horse.
I witnessed that meeting up with Hermione and Hermione's mum and her family, so I know how you experienced that on the day. How nervous were you then when you went into the ring?
I was very surprised that I wasn't nervous at all, which was for me a bit unusual. I had felt incredibly prepared going into the race. I didn't go in thinking, gosh, I wish I'd done a bit more of this or that. So I think that probably helped. but also I could see a few of the other riders were getting a bit nervous, and that sort of took it away from me a little bit, I think, and it allowed me to really enjoy what was going on, take it all in, and focus on everything that was happening, which is all anyone who's ever ridden in the race kept saying. It'll be over in a flash, take it all in. So I did really try to do that.
What about the race? How did that go for you?
Oh, do you know, best thing ever. I finished 5th in the race. I was given my instructions to jump off handy. When you come around the bend, go for the middle of the track where the ground's a bit quicker, and then, just do what you can. I was riding Pitts, the boss. He was brilliant. He looked after me so well on the way to the start, down at the start. He behaved perfectly, did everything I asked of him. And it was just, I can't stop thinking about it. And everything, it did happen some of it seemed to happen very quickly, but then I've got some very clear memories where you're very present in the moment of the race, and so I don't really actually remember an awful lot after the race, but I'm going to put that down to the rain.
Yeah, I mustn't forget the rain. When you've trained for something for so long, 6 months, the build up, then the race, it must seem so different when then it's over.
So I managed to stay on a high until the Wednesday, and then I did crash a little bit. But I, to make sure I did that, I've carried on going to the gym. I've carried on riding out. I got to ride the boss again on Monday morning, which was brilliant. That was the first time since the race last week. So yes, I did crash a bit, and I got quite emotional. But being able to carry on with some of these things that have sort of become a very big part of my life and a part of my daily routine has really helped get back into the swing of things.
That's probably important when it's such a long period of time, 6 months doing that, to then suddenly stop.
Yes, definitely. And I think sort of part of it, because I work full time, I've got a young family, and the preparation has really, I've had to ask a lot of my husband and my parents for everything whilst I've been doing this. And I thought, well, I can't keep asking them. We've got to take a bit of a step back. But I found, and talking to a lot of the other riders, we can't give it up. So we it's not quite as intense as it was in the previous 6 months. But yes, definitely have to keep going one way or another.
To end then, ride of their lives better than you ever expected.
Yes, and my expectations were pretty high, to be honest. But I can honestly say it's the best thing I have ever done. It totally consumed my life for 6 months. Like I said, I'm very lucky. I have very supportive people around me, and if anyone is thinking of doing it, get signed up and throw yourself into it. That's
a great advert for the race and for the cause which you were raising money for.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And again, I've been overwhelmed by the generosity and support of people, both sort of making donations, helping out with events. Again, when you start, you enter and you put down what you think you might raise. I think I put down, I hope to get £5,000. Well, I'm at nearly 22,000, and that just wouldn't happen without the help and support. And I think, obviously, Macmillan is a very well-known charity, and cancer touches so many lives that people are very happy to support you in that way. But it has been overwhelming how people have got behind the whole journey, and I'm so grateful to them all.
Well, thank you, Charlotte, and also thank you for putting me in touch with Hermione in the first place.
No problem at all. It's been great following the podcast.
Hermione, did you, as Charlotte has just said, find it a bit tough a few days after the race?
I was actually, I was very busy the next week with racing at Royal Ascot, and then I had family over, obviously my sister from Australia, and then I had my cousin's wedding in Scotland on the Saturday. So that whole week I didn't really have time to kind of to stop and think, really. I was living off this unbelievable high from it all. It was probably when I went back up, I was up in Scotland for about 10 days after, that it all kind of sunk in. and I could actually just chill out and rest. So yeah, it was, as Charlotte said, it really is just the most incredible experience. And she did a pretty remarkable job with all her training as well. And she was always such a positive asset to the group.
She highlighted there how well you were looked after by Macmillan and the racecourse at York.
Yeah, everyone that helped organise this day was just amazing. The Macmillan team, the whole York racecourse team, Anthea Moorshead, who she steered the whole thing from the York perspective. As Charlotte said, we really were treated as jockeys, and that really did make the experience even more amazing. And the support that Macmillan gave us through those 6 months was incredible. They were constantly checking in on us and always being so encouraging for helping with advice on how you can do things for fundraising, and sending various kind of bits of information on how we could do that. So for a charity race, obviously I'm going to be biased, but I really do think that they're the top, because they offer this support not just through the kind of training racing side of it, but also through the fundraising side of it, which fundamentally is the most important bit of why we're doing the race, is to raise money for this very, very special cause.
The one thing that Charlotte mentioned and we haven't mentioned before is it did rain as well, didn't it? You got wet.
Yeah, but I wouldn't really say I noticed it when we were racing. I think more after, when we kind of crossed the finish line, and it felt like it was getting a bit wet. But I don't think I really noticed that. I think I was more focused on trying to get my breath back.
My next guest then is Sophia Monkman. She's been a previous guest on this podcast, and I spoke to her briefly after the race. Sophia had ridden in the Ride of Their Lives race before, I think in 2012, but I might even be wrong myself here. But this is what she had to say after the race. So what was it like being a spectator at the Ride of Their Lives race at York?
Well, funny enough, I still got very nervous. I stood around the parade ring, I watched the jockeys go into the parade ring, get their instructions, and I just felt I understand exactly what they were feeling, because I've been there and done it. And I was kind of nervous for them all, and just hoped that they'd have a really good ride and they were able to enjoy the moment after all, the weeks and months of hard work of training. So it's nice to come and enjoy it and not have the nerves. But it was, I'm just so proud of them all, because I just know how hard they've all worked, and it was a really, really good race as well. So they've all done very, very well.
So you might still come back again and ride another time?
I'm not sure. I mean, when you see today, all the people are here and their loved ones and supporters, and you hear how much they've raised, it's very tempting. But what you don't realise is the early mornings, the getting fit, the assessments, the riding out. It'd be very hard work, but never say never.
So hearing Sophia, would you do it again yourself, Hermione?
I think that, as she said, it is the most incredible experience. I would definitely be tempted to do another charity race. I think it is the most rewarding, certainly one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. I'm enjoying the kind of not as intense training at the moment, but it is definitely something I would love to do. I'd love to be able to do another charity race again.
So race over, what was next on this special day? Photos after the race, wasn't it?
Yeah, lots of photos. We had the kind of prize giving, and seeing Louis up there taking his trophy, which was just amazing to all be together as riders. That's when the heavens opened. We all started to get a bit wet, and then we had a lunch very kindly hosted by York Racecourse, with all the riders, and I had my family, my sister, my mother, and niece and nephew. So and then met some of the other riders' family as well. So that was really lovely. And then I had a load of friends up from Newmarket and from London and Scotland, so catching up with all of them. And then I ended up kind of going out for dinner with a load of friends, because I stayed in York that night with my friends that were up from London. So yeah, it was a really, really, really fun rest of the day. And I think we went for dinner and went for a few drinks after, but I think by that point I was pretty exhausted. So yeah, no, we definitely celebrated.
I think you deserve to be, having got up at 5:30 in the depths of the winter when it was -7, I think you said one day. So I'll let you off that. I've got one more guest in this first batch, which is your mum, who I spoke to very briefly after you'd ridden in the Ride of Their Lives race. And this is what your mum had to say. So how proud are you of Hermione?
Immensely. Totally and utterly immensely. And it's very, very emotional the whole day. It's been amazing.
So the rain's not spoiled it for you?
No, not in any way. No, it's been an amazing day. And we've all been so moved by what she's done. I mean, it's quite an achievement. It's been just incredible, really. And her father was with her the whole way.
Your mum was a bit emotional there at the end of the race.
Yeah, she was. She very much was a part of it all as well. It obviously it was a pretty kind of very tough start to the year. And yeah, she was very much kind of with me, and lived through the training that I was kind of calling her out and telling her what I was doing. And yeah, in many ways, that's kind of, it was lovely to have something to work towards for not only myself, but also for her to kind of to live vicariously through me. So she was full of emotion and just so happy that she was there to share it with me.
But she had a great day herself.
She did, yeah, she really did. She's I mean, when I was younger, I used to event, and we did a lot of competitions, and her and my dad were always driving me places, and they were just my biggest supports. And so I think in many ways she felt like she was almost doing it again. So she was, I'm sure, shouting far too loudly and having a wonderful time. So I think they had a big dinner back at our kind of our cousin's house. So I think she celebrated as well.
Well, thank you for sharing that with me. We've got 4 guests down. We've got 2 to go, and we're now going to focus on the fundraising for Macmillan Cancer Support. And we've got 2 previous guests who've been on the podcasts, Megan Heyman Tansley from Macmillan and Amy Swales from York Racecourse. So before we hear about the headline fundraising figure, how much did you raise yourself, Hermione?
I raised just over £14,000. So yeah, I think it's quite amazing, as Charlotte said, how generous people are, and everyone's so behind the cause. So I'm so incredibly grateful to every single person that donated, and to my wonderful sponsors that were such a huge part of that fundraising. I mean, it's quite incredible how much as a collective group we've raised.
Just remind us again of your major sponsors who made a difference to your fundraising.
So Tassels, Racing Post, Bloodstock, Waikato Stud, and Knight Frank España.
Thank you. Let's then hear from Megan from Macmillan to hear what she had to say about the Ride of Their Lives day at York. How successful a day was Ride of Their Lives 2024?
The Ride of Their Lives was so successful, Stephen. We're really proud of all the riders, and the Ride of Their Lives plays a part in the overall day, which is the Macmillan Charity Race Day. So I can give you numbers because I know you're going to ask. The race day altogether raised over £550,000. I'll let that sink in before I carry on. £550,000. It's phenomenal. For one race day, yes. And the riders themselves, the 12 riders taking part in the Ride of Their Lives, they've raised 220,000 of that.
That's fantastic.
That is really amazing. And I was looking earlier at the type of things that would fund. A lot of the day's fundraising will go towards refreshing York's Cancer Information Centre. There is one there at the moment at York Hospital, but we've invested a lot of money, over £1 million, into that centre there. But it also goes towards lots of different things. So the riders fundraising, for example, 220,000 could fund a Macmillan support worker for nearly 6.5 years. That's a phenomenal commitment, and we are so thankful to them.
It's important when people give so much over a period of time that the public are informed about this. I'm sure that's what you do at Macmillan.
Absolutely. It's a huge part of what I do. I'm there to help people and support people to fundraise, but most importantly, to let them know the impact that they're having to the charity, especially if they don't have somewhere locally where they can walk in and see Macmillan. There are places around the country where we really would want bigger and better services, but we can't do that without raising more money. So I'm here to let them know how well they're doing, how we might fund it, and how important their fundraising is.
Do you think the year off of the Ride of Their Lives made a difference a little bit?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I think it did, but that's not to say I would like to do it again anytime soon. We had so many amateur jockeys that were getting in touch during that year off saying, what's going on? We want to do it. So there was a long time, I think, for the riders to plan what they wanted to do. And even like the trainers and owners, they were a bit like, what's going on? Where's the race? So we did need that break at the time. We needed to refresh and reset, but it's clearly come back with a bang.
So no plans for another break. It'll carry on in 2025.
That is the plan so far.
I guess the more that every year when you're getting different people doing it, they're always coming up with different ideas of how to raise money for Macmillan.
Yeah. Each person that takes part has a really unique plan, and we invest a lot of time at the beginning. So, we choose our riders in December or January, and I spend a lot of time with them saying, you've got 6 months. It's a long time. Let's plan things out. Let's spread things out. Let's not put too much at the beginning and not put too much at the end. And we had some really interesting things. So we've had businesses support people. We've had, tens and tens of thousands of pounds of corporate sponsorships. We've had hobby horse races. We've had gigs, all sorts of imaginative things. But there are definitely few tried and tested methods, such as getting logos on your silks, for example, or holding gala dinners that do work really well.
Yeah, Hermione looked like a Grand Prix driver. I know that.
There is such a wonderful photo of Hermione in the parade ring on top of her horse, where she is like smiling ear to ear, full of all her logos, like legs kicked out to the side. It's one of my favourite photos of the day, actually. Just
remind us how much to date the 12 amateur jockeys have raised for Macmillan.
They have raised £220,000, £404 exactly.
And how was the day for Megan?
Well, I love working the charity race day because for me personally, it's just a day of celebration. I see the riders in the morning, so I got there at about 9 o'clock. I did spend some time setting up what we call our gala dinner, our philanthropy dinner up in the Dante suite. So that is something that happens over the whole day, and we invite business owners and philanthropists and guests of Macmillan. So I had some time to help set up that room, which looked wonderful. And then I went and met Louis and Carl, I believe, and two of the girls to do some interviews to ITV Racing and to Racing TV, and then let them go and get ready. They were all very nervous and very excited to get going, so they don't really want me hanging around, but I'm there in case they need me. The riders went off for a course walk, a last course walk, just if the conditions had changed. They had another briefing, and then the race started at 12:30. So we saw them out. I watched from the stands. I, was like any other participant at that time, but was perhaps cheering maybe just as loud as friends and family. And then we see them in the parade ring, which is unfortunately when the heavens opened. So if you were there on the day, you will know that it was sunny and dry up until pretty much when the riders crossed the finish line. And then the rain came, which if there's going to be rain on race day, that's exactly how we'd want it. Get the riders safely around the course, and then the professionals can deal with the bad weather.
Yeah, I was there, and I can vouch for the fact that I did get wet, but I'd still recommend the day to any race goer in future years.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. And then what is really lovely afterwards is that the riders and three of their friends and family come up to a box, and we have a celebration lunch that the racecourse kindly donates to everybody in that room. They have dinner, they have some celebration drinks, we do a thank you speech, and then really they have the rest of the day to themselves. They can use the box if they want, they can go down to their friends and family. It's completely up to them. So I stay around if they need me. And it was probably about 4:00 that people started leaving. So then it was all hands on deck to try and wrap up the day. We had lots of things to do to de-Macmillanify the racecourse. We had banners, we had horse boxes, we had so many raffle and auction prizes we needed to wrap up. So it was a bit of a busy evening.
Well, thank you very much again, Megan, for being on this Embracing the Challenge podcast with Hermione, part 4.
Thank you, Stephen.
So did you see a lot of Megan before the race when you were speaking earlier on this interview that she was always actively involved with you?
Yeah, we did. We saw Megan at the kind of before we walked the course and various, I think, various times then throughout. I think it was all a little bit of a blur, but Megan was there from the very start, and she's just been absolutely incredible. Yeah, just a huge thanks to her and all her enthusiasm and amazing organisation, and just a huge thanks to her.
Amazing sums that the jockeys and the race day has raised for Macmillan.
Yeah, it's astonishing really how much we've all managed to raise. And as I said, the support has been quite outstanding. It's everyone's been so generous, and just for such a special cause.
I hope you're enjoying the final part of our series with Hermione. It has truly been a pleasure creating this podcast. We first met back in early March to prepare for part 1, and now here we are wrapping it all up. If you missed any of the previous episodes, you can catch them on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or on our YouTube channel. And if you're enjoying the series, we'd really appreciate a favourable rating and review. Now let's get back to the final part with Hermione. Final guest then is Amy Swales, the Head of Community Engagement at York Racecourse. And this is what Amy had to say. Was Saturday the 15th of June as good as ever for York Racecourse?
Yes, it was. Thank you. It was absolutely fantastic. It was our 53rd Macmillan Charity Race Day, and it's safe to say that I think it was one of the best in terms of fundraising, and as well as for the passion behind it too.
Yes, just update us, because on this podcast earlier on the show, I spoke to Megan Hayman-Tansley from Macmillan on the 5th of July, and we're recording now towards the end of July.
Yeah, so we are set at near record levels. So the day in itself, the whole day, the Macmillan Charity Race Day, has raised £563,000, or a smidge over. I think with 5,600. There's a 263 at the end of that, I think, as well. So we're we are absolutely delighted, and we cannot thank the people that have helped us get to that number.
That's fantastic. Was the buzz the same as always? You had a year off as well, hadn't you, for the Ride of Our Lives?
Yeah, so the Macmillan Ride of Their Lives was back for the first time since it was. So we had a year off, so it was great. The passion and the commitment that the riders bring to the day is inspirational. And we have, there's a wealth of things that go on during the day itself. And there's so many people that we're grateful for their donations to Macmillan and other charities. But the riders start their journey 6 months before that. And just to be part of that journey. It's just an amazing experience. It was definitely one that we missed the year before, so we're really pleased that we had it back for this year.
And the journey for the jockeys continues even after the race.
Yes, it does. So the jockeys for the ride of their lives, they say that it changes their lives. And we've got so many of them that are still involved in the race in some way, as either mentors or helping out where they can. Many of them still ride out. Some of them have changed jobs and ride out in yards now. And as well, their fundraising efforts still continue. So I don't think we actually officially close their fundraising accounts till the end of this year. But the riders total has actually kept going up as well. So they're on over £220,000, just the riders themselves. And a couple of days ago now, Carl Avison, he announced that he has raised individually over £40,000 for Macmillan. And given his target was £25,000, I think that is a mighty achievement to have made.
Carl was the gentleman who had raced in the Ride of Their Lives before.
Yes, he is. So he had raced a few years ago now, and at that time he raised a considerable amount as well. And then he had his own cancer journey and his own experience between first time he raced and this time he raced. And now he raced again. He was keen to be the first person to do it again, and we said that we were happy for you to come on board again. And he raised over £40,000. And the events he put on a yoga event. It was just. But to be honest, to talk about Carl is amazing, and that he raised over £40,000. But all the riders did so well. Like, I cannot take my hat off them, that they, as well as raising phenomenal amounts of money individually, all of them raised phenomenal amounts. To collectively get £220,000 from 12 riders, you do have to raise phenomenal amounts, but they're doing that as well as training for this race. So it really does take over their lives. It's something they think about 24/7, whether they're riding out first thing in the morning before work, or whether they're planning events in the evening, getting their friends and family to come along. I know one of the riders did a cinema event, the yoga event I talked about. We've had balls in the past. Louis Pern, he did an event at his father's restaurant that was almost like a mini event in itself, in terms of there was a lunch, there was a silent auction. It was I just think they are amazing, both in what they do physically, but also what they put together. I'm an event organizer at the racecourse, and that's what day to day we do, essentially, is organize events. And I would have any one of them organizing events for me now.
We've heard from Megan earlier on this podcast. You must have had some good feedback from Macmillan.
Yeah, and to be honest, I have worked on Macmillan Charity Race Day now for this will probably for over a decade, definitely over a decade, and I think it's my 13th or 14th year working with them, and it's a real partnership, and we're really honoured with the partnership that we have with them. It is something that we start planning for as soon as the last day is over. So bye 53rd and hello 54th for next year. It's we've already had some wash up and planning meetings, and it's their single biggest fundraising event, and it's an honour to work with the team to ensure it stays as the single biggest fundraising event, but more importantly that it grows and that it maintains those levels. In terms of, I'm incredibly proud, but in my head I'm always 500,000 every year is my target, and to get over 500,000 was tremendous. But to make it, I think we have a lunch called the Dante Sweet Lunch, and in that lunch, that's the most successful we've ever been this year. And the day as a whole, I think, is the second most successful day we've had. So where we are in the economic climate and how people are feeling the purse strings a bit more, I think it's great that I think it is not just great, but it's fantastic that people can support us still, and they want to support us. So we know that in these times it's hard for charities, and so it's a privilege that we've been able to raise this amount for Macmillan this year.
Well, being there on the day, I noticed how much people enjoyed it, despite the rain on the 15th of June, and they were all dressing up in their finery and really enjoying the day.
Yes, and people do love to dress up when they come to the races, especially at York. It's a special occasion for many. yeah, the day itself, we would have liked better weather. I think it was a little cold, and also, as we know from around the country, and it's been on the news, that it has kind of been unseasonably cold and wet. So it wasn't the greatest of days in that respect, but we turned the place green for Macmillan, and the atmosphere was still amazing. Hopefully, I'm looking out the window now, and I know we'll be going out with this podcast a bit later than when than me sitting here now. But it's sunshine, and we're racing today, so fingers crossed for more sunshine for the rest of the races. Especially, we've got the Sky Bet Ebor Festival in a few weeks' time, so I'm hoping for some good weather for those 4 days.
Well, let's hope so. As a horse racing fan, as a cricket fan, we can all do with good weather. Congratulations again, Amy, for all the work that you've done, that York Racecourse has done on raising this fabulous amount of money. And I better leave you now to let you get back to working on next year's event.
Perfect. Thank you ever so much.
So Amy's got a job for you as an events manager.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, no, I think I amazed myself really with how resourceful I could try and be with kind of thinking of ideas of how to raise money, and as was everyone else in the group. Everyone made a very, very strong effort in thinking of different ways of how to do that.
Shows how long I've been preparing for this podcast, because I think ever since then we've had hot weathers, heat waves, and when I was speaking to Amy, it never stopped raining. So I have done some good.
Absolutely. I'm hoping that the weather will be nice this week for racing at York, which I'm off up to York tomorrow. So,
but not this time as a jockey, though.
This time not as a jockey, I know. So it'll be cool to stand up there and watch it all and just take it all in.
A few thank yous along the way from me to Michael Hills, your jockey coach, Glenn Reid from the Injured Jockeys Fund, and James Ferguson, the trainer, and of course to Currency Exchange, your gelding who you rode. They were all part of other podcasts. Well, Currency Exchange actually wasn't on, but thanks to him on the day. One question I wanted to ask you was, what were their reactions to your performance on the day, especially Glenn?
Yeah, great. He was, all just really thrilled for me. And I think, they could see how hard I'd worked and all the effort I put in, and obviously they were going to be supportive no matter what, despite Glenn kind of, wanting wanting me to bring back some champagne for him. But no, it was everyone's just been so supportive, and I can't thank them all enough, really.
The best 6 months of your life?
I'd say up there with, some of the best, the highs and lows, certainly. So just definitely one of the best things I've ever done, and none of it would have been possible without all the help that I've received and all the support, and would definitely do it again if I could. That's maybe have a bit of the time off to recover.
Because in part one you said that you'd known someone that had done the race before, which inspired you to compete yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think when someone, this is why I hope that off the back of all your wonderful podcasts, that this will encourage people to apply for it, and knowing that it will be certainly one of the most challenging 6 months of training and fundraising. It is certainly the most rewarding, and when you see someone ride on York Racecourse, it's I personally couldn't think why you wouldn't want to apply to do it, especially with all the support that you receive with it. It's certainly one of the best things I've ever done.
Well, thank you very much, Hermione, for being part of this podcast series, which began I don't know when we began now, but a while back now.
It feels like quite a long time ago. But yeah, no, thank you so much for your support and for following me through the journey of it all.